Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Welcome to the Raiders of the Lost Commentary podcast.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
The unofficial commentary for your favorite
Get to the chopper!
and not so favorite films.
The famous comedian Arnold Braunschweiger.
Starring your hosts Adam and Matt.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Start your movie in 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody. We got a special podcast this week. My good friend Travis Laidlaw, and we're watching his film, Dead House. Travis, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, welcome. I mean, thank you. I'm welcoming you to my podcast.
Yeah, it's doing a crossover. So we got this thing counting down here. So what is this thing counting down? Explain the premise of the film.
All right, so these two guys are just kind of working on this old house, and for some reason there is this countdown that basically locks down the house at a certain time, so they have to get out by this certain time, and that's what this countdown clock is off the beginning.
So
it's
like
just sort
Cabin
of
in the Woods
giving an
style?
urgency to the film. Yeah, sort of. I mean, I just needed something to give like urgency. I basically wanted a film that was just like an escape. These guys, let's just have guys in this creepy house. We can do a whole bunch of random scares and stuff, and they got to get out. And if they don't get out, it locks down, and then they're
trapped.
The idea is it's like this portal. I mean, it's kind of like there's a bigger backstory that is not apparent in the short.
Right.
It's kind of like it's a portal to hell type thing, right? At a certain time, it locks down because that portal opens or something like that. So that's kind of the initial concept.
It gives me some like vibes of Fringe, like how Fringe would have these like lockdown-y kind of areas. I don't know if you ever watched that show, but
I did a little bit, but I think I dropped off like in season 2 or something.
Yeah, I
yes,
really love
this
that show, so who
this
are these
house
guys?
is quickly. This is Red Okoa, and Virgil, the lead, patting himself down here.
Right.
Virgil Horth. These guys were great. It's just the two of them basically for most of the film, other than a couple.
Just normal casting
cameos.
call, or are they like buds, or?
Yeah. Just casting call. Auditioned like maybe, I don't know, 20 people for each role, sort of, and some of them did both, and then ended with these two. Yeah.
Okay. And
This house quickly is. So one thing I want to mention is, this wasn't I didn't have this idea for the film first, and then look for location. I knew the location, secured the location, and then was like, oh shit, now I have to write a film. So I passed this location like every day on the way to work for years, and it was just this huge creepy house that was always abandoned, or not necessarily abandoned. I mean, someone owns it, but it was empty. And I was always thinking it'd be great to shoot there. And then one day, someone sent me an article from Toronto Star or something with the owners were selling the house. It said they had it listed for $1, and I was like, oh my god, what the fuck are they doing? I mean, I'm going to lose out here. So I started looking into it, and I contacted them. I was like, hey, I see that you're selling it. I'd love to film there. Is there any chance? Like, do you even allow that? And he's like, yeah. The only thing is, the only opening we have is a month from now. I was like, okay, lock me in. So I just like kind of was like, all right, I'm going to film there.
now you have to make a movie, write a script.
Yeah, so then I had to write it and everything. So it's written for the location.
It's sort of like a reverse Robert Rodriguez thing,
Sort of.
Knowing you have the thing, so you get the thing, then you write the script.
I mean, it kind of helped to give restrictions, like I knew kind of where I could go and what areas of the house I wanted to use. But it's a very
that way you can
story.
Yeah, you can film in all these spots and then get like the look and stuff you want to achieve. So
another quick thing actually is this is the house that they used in the movie It, the new one.
It is.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Obviously not the outside. The outside was just built. It was like a facade. But the inside, where the kids go to find it, this is that house.
That's pretty cool. I actually have not seen it yet, but
they didn't. Oh, okay. Well, you won't recognize it because they did such a crazy art job. But they also didn't shoot in all the different, like here. There's like a warehouse attached to the house. They didn't shoot in there, but we did.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it does look like sort of a sprawling house,
It's pretty huge. Yeah, it's a giant like 4-story house, and then like off the back of the house, each floor attaches to this like old. It was an apartment complex that's all gutted now.
Oh, so yeah, that's why it does look. It's like I kind of just watching it the first time. I just sort of thought it might have been 2 or 3 different locations sort of strung together, but it is just one spot, eh?
Yeah, it's actually one spot,
which
was
awesome.
great. I mean, we shot it over a weekend, right? Like 3 days.
This is
Friday,
you, right?
Yeah, that's me right there with a huge forehead.
Yeah.
I have altered my forehead. It's not actually that big.
Oh.
All their faces. That's actually my family. So there's my mom in the middle, my dad on the right, my brother on the left, and his girlfriend beside him.
That's awesome.
But you can sort of see it in the eyes, like my brother's eyes. Like I've sort of morphed everyone's face to look strange.
Yeah, no, it looks good. It reminds me very much of the Haunted Mansion ride in Disney.
Sweet. I love to hear that. That's my favorite place in the world.
Yeah, it's when you go by and all the heads are in the glass what do you call them? The glass balls there.
Yeah.
What is that called?
Before you go in, you mean? Or in the library, like in the ride?
In the ride, like you're going by that thing that sort of looks like yeah.
The sculptures.
The sculptures, yeah. So it sort of reminds me of that. So that you should have had them all singing. I think that would have been creepier. Okay,
one thing no one has noticed, look in the window here behind him. You'll see a face. You'll see a face sort of appear. Right. Hold on.
The hand's coming.
Oh no.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah. Actually, I I thought I was explaining an Easter egg, but I just remember now I took it out. Never mind.
You blacked it out?
This was tough. Virgil was not. There was just guys holding the door shut because it didn't actually close.
Oh.
And he was kind of going a little too easy on it. He wasn't pushing the door enough. So I really
noticed that the first time through.
I had to really beef up the sound design to make it sound
like.
I still noticed that it's not overly.
You can
hard.
tell he's sort of pulling a bit there, but.
Yeah.
So Satan is kind of controlling the house.
Yeah, it's just sort of like these guys are getting transported around, sort of getting confused and just kind of taken into the bowels of the house, you know?
Have you seen that John Carpenter film that's like hell is basically in the basement of this church?
I don't know.
No, this sort of reminds me of that a little bit too, but in a different way, like the people that are possessed and are trying to get into the church. But this is scary, these bags coming up. How'd you not kill these people in the bags?
We had to cut little holes where their mouths were, but that was it.
Okay.
They're like gasping for breath.
Yeah,
Here, you can actually see the guy's running shoes. I purposely kind of covered it there, but in the beginning, it's like, fuck, I should have had them barefoot.
Yeah.
But anyways, no one notices the running shoes.
No,
here, this scene I got cut out here. The door is actually being held by the other guy's dead body.
Oh.
And then he goes, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" And he's like, "Oh, you're dead. Oh, I'm sorry." And he runs away and he like leaves him there. But I ended up cutting it out because it just made more sense to have that character just fully disappear until the ending, so you didn't know exactly what happened to him.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It was like the one trouble spot I was having in the edit, and finally it was like, you know what? The solution is just to get fucking rid of it.
Right. That's sometimes what you got to do is kill your darlings. You know.
Kill your darlings. Yeah, man.
So his wristband, is that half practical, half CGI, or?
What that is one of those snap bands from the 90s.
Okay.
Wrapped in tinfoil. and then just some After Effects with the simple countdown on it.
Nice. Is the this whole like exit port, like his fob system, how'd you guys do this?
So this is just I've just built this like the night before the shoot. I went to Home Depot and I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? So that's just like random switch plates on the top. These are just the silver plating on the front is literally just light switches from walls, just metal ones. And then they're just like conduit boxes kind of screwed together. And then they were just tracking dots on inside the light switch areas, and I just tracked it and
put something in
added
there.
The countdown.
It works well though.
The metal stuff behind the door was actually just like matting, like rubber mat for the floor, and we just spray painted it silver to look like metal.
I wasn't sure if you just bought like a sheet of that diamond plate or whatever.
I was going to, and it was so expensive. And I found the matting, and I was like, oh, this is way cheaper.
Yeah, this is kind of pricey, but you could probably sell it to somebody. That's cool. That's sort of like indie film ingenuity, just taking a few simple things and kind of Lego piecing them together to make,
Yeah,
you know?
man, the decisions you have to make on set, it's like I kind of love it. I get an adrenaline rush from it
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I know what you mean.
because you have to make a decision in like minutes. You're like, what do we do here? And you have to like we had to cut out an entire scene. We've worked with JD before.
Yeah.
JD was supposed to be in this. He had a whole like a 4-page scene, and I had to just cut it because we were so far behind. And it was the only scene, unfortunately, that just it was kind of thrown in. It didn't really wasn't needed for the story.
It was just,
And unfortunately, it was like the day of we were shooting or the night before, and we had to call him and just be like, "Dude, sorry, man,
there's no
we
way
had to
this
cut the
getting
scene.
done, eh?
Don't bother coming out." Yeah, it was rough. Yeah,
You got to do that sometimes, but you got to make those decisions on your feet. And
I had to track in blood on Red here because his shirt wasn't. He was just like not dead enough for me.
like sort of like he cut his throat or something.
Yeah, something. And that's my son Tyler.
The sort of smoky kind of fluidy effects are kind of cool coming off of him. Is that?
Yeah, I mean it's sort of ripped directly out of Devil's Backbone.
Yeah, but it works well. Like,
yeah, I kind of liked it. I mean, the idea was that he drowned, so that's kind of supposed to just be his sort of something floating up.
okay.
Again, inspiration by Devil's Backbone on that one.
This,
I also added
what's
in
that?
Tyler's eyes. If you look at Tyler's eyes, you can see them sort of glimmering.
Yeah, sort of. Looks like some
I
demon
added
effects.
sort of a reflective sort of thing in post to his eyes just to make him creepy. It's hard to see some Vimeo link, which we're watching off of.
Yeah.
And the creature is just really industrial black garbage bags. So pillows taped to the guy's body. This guy was a big dude. Pillows taped all over his body to give him bulk, and then black garbage bags taped together with black duct tape and hung all over him. And then just mop heads taped all over him. Just to
It
give him
looks
that
good.
sort of
I actually just thought it was
hair.
somebody in a fur coat or in a turkey costume.
Yeah, I mean, like in the light, it looks ridiculous. But
Yeah.
I knew what I wanted. It was always going to be like silhouetted. So
That's
I just wanted that texture on the edges, you know.
That's should bring up a good point about just lighting is such a huge key in this sort of stuff. With Justin lighting everything, right?
Yeah.
Our other
man.
friend and faithful DOP.
Yeah.
So that's the movie. How long did it take you to make?
Pretty much a year in post, but we had some hang-ups in certain areas of post. Wait for people's schedules to free up and stuff. So, I mean, it took a year and actually a couple months before I finished it. And really, I only finished it last minute because we got into a festival and it kind of forced me to finish the sound design. But I ended up doing all the sound design myself, and
Sounds good.
I'm really digging it, man. I'm really liking sound design lately.
It's fun, eh?
I can piece together stuff really well. But I didn't know I was gonna try to mix it myself, and I started, and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing." So I ended up getting a guy, Chris, to mix
That's
it for
where
me.
it really gets expensive, is that type of stuff, eh?
Yeah, and it's needed, man. Not to say like sound designer isn't needed. I would love to work with someone. I just didn't have the money to bring anyone in. I knew that it would take a lot of time, so I just ended up. I knew I had time to wait for the score to be made and stuff, so I just kept sound designing.
No, it worked out really good. And it's a scary film, so if people want to check it out, it'll be playing at some festivals and it'll be online soon, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't put it online until sort of we find out at least. I mean, we've got about 25 festivals we've applied to so far that we're kind of waiting on. I think the last one is all the way in next September or something that we would have to wait to find out. So I don't know. I'm going to try to crunch the numbers and see which festivals require the film to not be online, and try to get it up as soon as I can.
All right,
Otherwise, they'll be playing at some festivals. It'll be played at one in Toronto and one in Portland last week. So
very cool. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast. If anybody else out there has short films or feature
it's too
films,
short. You can't.
It is. You can't do a whole podcast, but that's the idea of these.
There's so many things I wanted to mention.
You can mention them now. I'll just keep it in.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to think of. So actually, one of the things we were talking about sound design. I've in the last bunch of projects sort of done, I've always been like a stickler for thinking I want to record all the sounds as wild sounds, like after a take. Get the guy doing sound to everyone shut up and do the footsteps and everything. I just feel like if you can get the sounds from the actual location, it'll be better. But you never have time for that.
No,
so I ended up, we didn't get it, and then I edited the thing together and started to I locked the edit and then started to think about sound, and I started getting like bundles and all sorts of like random packs, sound effects and things. And for Foley, that doesn't work. Like you just got to do your Foley yourself.
Yeah.
So I did all the Foley I knew I needed to do, just all the body movements and stuff. You know, you and I have done a lot of that in the past. So, just set up some mics and did that by myself in the office. And then the thing is, like, because this was one location, the house was the house, and it was just a fantastic location. Like the sounds of the guys running up the stairs, I wanted those stairs. The sounds of, stomping on the floor above or the creaking wooden floors. I couldn't really find anything that sounded like that, and I don't really know what I'm doing to create those sounds. So I ended up calling up the guy who owned the house again, and it had just finished shooting there, and he had a small window. I was like, "Can I get in there for one night?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So I came back. I had to pay him again a little bit, but it was worth it. So I go to the house, and now I show up at the house. I got two guys coming to help me just to do the running around and stuff while I record them. But we had no lights or anything, so we just had little head torches on, and the house was so freaky being there with no crew and no lights and everything. We had to go through the whole place. But I ended up I had the cut of the film on an iPad, and I literally just recorded every single sound I saw that we would need in order. It took a couple. It only took a couple. It took like I don't know. We were there for like 4 hours, and when I saw a guy walking, I was like, all right, and we just did all the walking, door slamming, everything. So all the sounds are generally from that location too, and that I think that really helped.
Yeah,
because I really cranked those kind of sounds, the atmospheric, the house creaking and all that stuff. I cranked, and anyways,
it's one of those things. Like I agree. Like when you shoot, like you just want those sounds. Nothing beats those sounds. And I don't know about you, but like I always hear like the same door creaks in film or TV, or the same like just stock sounds every now and then. Yeah, when you're in it and you're used to using that stuff, you really notice. I can't tell you how many TV shows I've watched where I'm like, oh, that's the Soundtrack Pro stock library of music there. Sound ideas, louder than life, LTL 04.
It happens, right? And most people don't really know, but those who are in it are aware.
But it's a necessary thing. I went through the same thing, like just like recently with borrowing your camera there, getting the just like nobody was there to do sound. The guy supposed to do sound bailed last minute, right? So it's like, great. Well, now we're doing Foley for everything.
Well, that's the thing. We had a sound guy there, and he was getting some good stuff. But when I got into the edit, there was no power in that whole place, so we had to have a generator outside running the whole time. Everything was contaminated. I didn't like nothing is everything in that film. I would say 99% is all remade.
Yeah, I could tell all ADR. It was pretty much all ADR, right?
Yeah, it's all. There might be a couple. I think like Virgil's stuff in the tunnel and like in the very end, him crying. That wasn't ADR. That was real. I didn't want to have to redo that. But all the stuff like upstairs, that's all. Most of it is redone.
Yeah, ADR is another thing. Like,
it's the worst.
I hate doing it. It's like it's never as good as it is on set. Like, it's never as good. So
yeah.
But like most people don't really notice whether or not it's ADR or.
Yeah, and I don't know. Sometimes I think I only notice because I'm aware that there's no way that's real sound. It's not even that the quality's bad. But I'm like, no, that's ADR. I can tell.
It's a fan
only because I know you couldn't have got that clean.
Yeah.
But I don't know. ADR. When it's done well, you can't tell.
No, it's true, but
it's a hard one to do.
It is, and getting the right conditions to do it sometimes too. I found using the same mics all the time. Like if you knew on set you were using this lav. Use that lav and then try and get a room that's of similar sort of volume. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're recording in a bar, like try and record in maybe a kitchen, like sort of match that reverb kind of.
I couldn't do any room tones because of the generator as well. So that was kind of a bummer. I had to use like stock room tones and things that were sort of regenerated. I got some from when we went back to the house, but then there was like traffic in the background because it's like kind of on a busy corner.
Okay.
So that kind of sucked. Not getting that, but otherwise I got everything.
Yeah, sound's one of those things always thought of last, you know.
And it's like it's the most important. I've always said, I mean I don't watch cam rips or anything anymore, but I remember when I used to download movies that weren't out yet. I could kind of watch the ones that looked like shit as long as the sound was good.
Yeah, it's true.
But the ones that look fine but the sound is all tinny and garbage, I can't watch that.
No,
because it just takes it right out.
Yeah, it's true. It kills it. No, I totally agree. I would say it's like 60% of the film. You know, I find like people notice sound effects and or effects more too with sound effects. You know what I mean? Like if you have like I remember editing something one time and I had a bunch of gun effects or whatever, and showed it to somebody with no sound, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's cool, but you should probably add more, flashes and bullets and stuff." And I was like, "Well, check it out like in a few days," and then adding the gun sounds and the shells and all that, they just assumed there was more visual effects because of the sound.
Yeah.
Which is strange, but I don't know. It's one of those things, right?
Yeah. No, you got to trick the brain into thinking there's more. I mean, that's what we're always trying to do, right? Production value, and you want it to feel bigger. I don't know if you do any of the subscribe to Masterclass.
I've been meaning to. I don't know. There's so many. I keep seeing the one with Ron Howard.
Dude. So it's like $120 a class, or it's $240 for a season pass, which is basically an unlimited access to all classes for the entire year, and your first year is free. It's only the cost of 2 classes, and you get everything.
Crazy.
It's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
I've watched Werner Herzog and who was the one I just did recently? Aaron Sorkin's writing. Anyways, I had a point. Hold on, what were we just talking about? I had
about sound
point that they mentioned. Oh man, it's gone.
About
that
sound?
Sucks.
Nothing about sound.
I went on a tangent. What have I watched?
I don't know.
I'm just trying to think out loud.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. I had some important point to make, so just assume I said something really, really awesome.
Good point.
Yeah. It was a quote. I was going to quote somebody.
Oh, okay. It wasn't Ron Howard?
Oh, it wasn't even from a class I watched. It was from a promo for Martin Scorsese's upcoming masterclass.
Oh, right.
And he said something about if watching your first cut, your assembly cut doesn't make you physically ill, or he didn't say if it does or doesn't. He just said everyone always is physically ill on seeing their first assembly cut.
Yeah.
And it's so true, man. When I put this together, I was like, oh my God, this is so boring. There's nothing going on here. It's garbage. And as it was really, even when I locked the edit, I was kind of like, oh man, it's okay. But once I started going through the sound design and like adding the atmosphere and the tension, and because it's in the sound design that I can then play with emotions. I want people to get tense. Well, I can put music here and I don't know, sound effects
play
there.
That up. Yeah. I totally, I get what you're saying. I know, like, first time I watch a cut of anything I do, well, I would say subsequently after a few times too, you're just like, oh, I wasted a year of my life. I suck. I'm going to go get a job somewhere else. I quit. I suck. But, you got to keep at building up those layers, and then you're like, well, it doesn't suck that bad.
Just keep moving. Just keep making stuff.
That's what you got to do. Well, I'll wrap up the podcast. And if anybody else out there has short film, feature film, any type of indie work you want to come on the podcast and talk about how you made it, give me a email, Raiders of the Lost Commentary, or Twitter at Raiders of the Lost Commentary, and on Instagram, Lost Commentary. All right, thanks, folks.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at Lost Commentary, on Instagram at Raiders of the Lost Commentary, and like us on Facebook.
I'll be back.